Hello, everyone, and welcome to the September Cosmic Weather. My name is Philip Young. I am a professional spiritual advisor, astrologer, tarot card reader. I also do past life regression. And each month I bring a report about the upcoming cosmic weather. And we're going to be talking about what's happening in September. And there will be a number of really very interesting events taking place. But first, I want to just provide a big picture overview of what's going on. If you've been following my cosmic weathers up to this point, you know that I've been talking quite a bit about the transits that are affecting us that are tied to previous periods of major disruption in history, and specifically within the United States, each of the major wars going back to the Revolutionary War, including the Civil War and World War II. So that energy is currently in play. We're also in what I described in the last video, liminal space, which is being stuck in between. And we are most definitely feeling stuck in between. And this energy is going to last still for another couple of years. I wish I could say that things are going to rapidly shift, but unfortunately, at the moment, we are really in the middle of it. And one of the advantages of astrology, both the good and the bad, is that there is a timing to things, but sometimes the timing is quite slow. And in the case with what we're dealing with right now, it is fairly on the slow side. So we're definitely in a period of liminal space, which also provides us with some manifestation opportunities. So there's manifestation space that's also active at this particular time. The space that we're not having a whole lot of access to is safe space. This is being able to feel like things are reliable and predictable, and that certainly is not the case at the moment. So, to begin with, I just want to provide the big picture overview for what's going on in September, and then I'm going to specify some key dates as opportunities because, again, one of the things I've been thinking about as I've been trying to modify this presentation is when I started out, it was a lot of times fairly technical, and I think there's a certain pleasure that comes with that of like knowing here are the details of things. But as I've thought about more of trying to you as an audience have you understand what might be actions that can be taken or how to understand how the astrology of the cosmic weather could play for you individually. I want to talk a little bit more about specific dates that represent opportunities maybe to do some ritual work, to do some journaling, to pay attention to actions that you might consider making, even days that could be good days for making specific decisions if there are major decisions that are going on in your life right now and you're looking for a day around astrological energy that could be helpful in facilitating whatever that decision might be. But to begin with, September brings a month of more transition, but also reflection and recalibration. Several planets shift signs, and they're altering the tone of daily life, while retrogrades slow momentum and invite introspection. And there is going to be quite a bit of retrograde energy in play in this month. The movement of Mercury, Venus, Mars, and the Sun through new signs creates a steady rhythm of changing priorities. They change signs on a regular basis monthly. We move from precision and refinement into balance, partnership, and deeper emotional focus. And I can explain what those are in terms of the signs that are involved. And this will mean moving sort of out of Virgo energy that was very strong in this previous month, and then going into September, we'll actually be getting in some Libra energy and some Scorpio energy. These ingresses encourage both personal adjustment and collective realignment. Now, retrogrades dominate the backdrop with Saturn, Chiron, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto all moving inward. They are all retrograde. This creates a strong theme of revisiting the past, questioning structures, and confronting unresolved wounds. Saturn in Pisces is going to happen on September the 1st, and it is going to emphasize responsibly with compassion, but also it's going to ask us to think back to what our dreams were 2.5 years ago. Saturn spends 2.5 years in a sign, and the retrograde back into Pisces means that it will be in the final journey in Pisces between September 1st and February 13th of 2026. So, in a lot of ways, it is the last opportunity to look back at what we envisioned we were going to try to structure or create while Saturn was moving through Pisces that is tied to our sense of dreams, the things that we want. And as Saturn then settles into Aries, it will be about what we have to deal with, that we have to confront and we have to face, and there's just no getting around it. So while we have Saturn going back into Pisces, Chiron is still retrograde in Aries, which it was last month, and continues the personal healing process. Uranus is retrograde in Gemini coming up in this month, and it heightens reflection on innovation and communication. Again, this will be sort of what is the whole AI evolving experience going to look like? And what's going to happen is Uranus will go back into Taurus for a period of time, and that will happen on November the 7th of 2025, and then it will go into Gemini again and stay in Gemini after April, end of April of 2026. Now, what I said previously, I'll repeat in this particular video, which is I think by the time that we get to the next Uranus in Gemini moment, we will be not really talking about AI the way we do. AI will just be here. It will be embedded in the way that reality functions. And the example I've been giving is when I play my solitaire game and I take a break, I have received an advertisement for Wix, which is an online company for designing websites. And one of their big announcements, like so many other things, is use our AI to help you build fantastic websites. What I think will happen when Uranus goes back into Taurus, spends its time there, and all of this sort of conversation about how AI is going to be part of, using Zoom, use your AI companion in Zoom, use AI in this, use AI in that, that we will get to a place where it just won't be part of the discussion. AI will be the functional way in which tools are being utilized, and there will not be that same level of, hey, it's the new kid on the block or it's the new idea and let's figure out how it's going to work. It's now just part of the norm of something that you utilize, and how does that change things in terms of the tools that we're actually using. Neptune and Pluto continue their retrograde, and that's again deepening this question of spiritual clarity and spiritual collective transformation. Sort of we're all in it together. Now, different people are seeing it different ways, but ultimately we're all being swept along in the energy of a new way of looking at community, which is Pluto and Aquarius. That's where it is now. It's gone into Aquarius. Aquarian energy has to do with society, civilization. It's also tied to technology, and we see these Plutonic themes coming through in very dramatic fashion. Then we have Neptune that will go back into Pisces. It's currently in Aries. It will go back into Pisces. That will happen on October 22nd. And then it will spend time there in Pisces, its last bit of time in Pisces, before it goes into Aries and stays in Aries after January the 24th, 25th. So once again, we have had a taste of, wow, what have we got to deal with straight up? And that's the Aries energy of not only Chiron, which has been in Aries for quite some time, but now we've added Saturn and Neptune, and they've given us a taste. They're going to go back into Pisces, and then they're going to permanently go into Aries for their time starting in 2026. But throughout this month, key aspects will highlight tension and opportunity. Mars in Libra challenges Jupiter in Cancer and opposes Chiron in Aries, surfacing conflicts between harmony, growth, and personal wounds. Later, Jupiter will square to retrograde Chiron, which will magnify emotional vulnerability, but does offer some profound healing through honesty and empathy. At the same time, supportive sextiles and trines between Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto provide a stabilizing undercurrent. These will encourage visionary breakthroughs and some potential collective progress. Now, this is where I can certainly see the idea that the manifestation state, there's going to be some real opportunity, especially because Uranus and Pluto will be in what we call a trine relationship. They'll be in the same element, both in air, Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius. And they're also at the very beginning of the degrees. They're both at 0 and 1 degrees during this back and forth. And that's going to provide, again, some opportunity for advancement of ideas. And a lot of it will depend on how we as individuals and how we as a collective decide to, and it's really hard not to talk about it in terms of what the AI represents. It's just probably one of the largest single events that is also spanning a significant amount of time that we are all part of right now. So, overall, what I would say is September asks for patience, awareness, and adaptability, which has really been the theme of the liminal state going all the way back to, well, quite honestly, not only the beginning of this year, but the previous year. There's just been a lot of upheaval that has left us in a state of how do I just kind of keep myself, floating above, treading water, maybe making some advances in whatever ways we can, but that we're also watching the world go through just remarkable amounts of change and fairly quickly. So by engaging in reflection and embracing small steps forward, you can really turn challenges into healing opportunities and align with whatever your deeper goals happen to be. So, September's astrology should remind us that growth comes not only from action, but from the courage to pause, review, and realign. So, the first phase or the first impact of this will be on September the 1st when Saturn goes back into Pisces. Now, in terms of just the normal transitions that are happening that occur, the sun will shift into Virgo, and it will shift into Libra out of Virgo, and that will bring a greater focus on relationships for us going into the next month. Mercury will have a final day in Leo on September the 1st, and then it will actually go into Virgo on the 2nd of September. And that's going to require us to be more precise about our decision making, our thinking, and our choices. We really want to be very practical with this Mercury in Virgo about the decisions we make. We really want to look at it in terms of what is necessary and what do we need to do as the correct steps to get things done. And then for the 3 weeks it's in Virgo, by September the 18th, it will then start to move into Libra. So you can hear that Libra theme coming up. We're going to have a Virgo Libra theme, but by the 18th, we'll have it going into Libra. And then on the 22nd, we'll have the sun going into Libra. So there's going to be that Libraean increase in energy. Venus begins September in Leo, and on September the 19th, it will go into Virgo. And so there will be, again, practical energy around our relationships. Right now, it's in Leo, which is about kind of an excitement, but we're headed towards, again, being grounded and asking really practical questions about how we take care of ourselves. And a lot of times when I think of Virgo's energy versus Leo's energy, Leo to me is like dessert and fun and excitement, and Virgo is vegetables and you know doing the right thing and following regimens and so forth. So there's definitely going to be by the end of the later middle part of this month an emphasis on that Virgonian energy. Mars begins in Libra and it will transition on September 22nd into Scorpio. So it will go change signs on the 22nd, the same time the sun changes signs. And we'll get an introduction of some Scorpio energy, which Mars really can be quite powerful in Scorpio because traditionally that's the sign it ruled before the discovery of Pluto. So we're really looking at a lot of activity around the actually what's going to also be a partial eclipse. There'll be a partial solar eclipse on the 21st, 22nd, around that time. And that energy is also going to be a new moon, which will in fact be a very unique moon because it will be a black moon on the 21st. That means that it will be a second Virgo moon. So there was a Virgo moon at the beginning of, or in the middle of the month of August when the new moon happened, it was Virgo. It's going to be Virgo again at the end of the degrees. So it's called a black moon. And so this theme of Virgo, of practical, of doing things that need to be done necessarily and correctly is very strong in this upcoming month. Now, Saturn, as I said, will re-enter Pisces, and that's going to invite deep reflection on the responsibilities and the boundaries and the spiritual growth that we've had over the last 2.5 years. And it will be the last time to kind of look at what we try to create for ourselves. So this transit asks for patience, humility, and careful planning, especially regarding long-term goals and emotional responsibilities. So we want to use this energy from September 1st until February 13th to review your past efforts and to align actions and be ready to really go when Saturn gets back to Aries and next year, what actions need to be taken and really be ready to take those actions. So one of the things that I've talked about also in previous videos that I'll reemphasize in the video today is looking at being more frugal, being more in control of one's finances and expenses and so forth, looking at all of that so that if there is disruption, you feel better positioned to actually deal with it. Now, so we have September the 1st as a significant date. We have September 21st, 22nd as a significant set of dates. We also have September 7th as a powerful day. And that's because it will be the full moon. It will be a full moon in Pisces. And on top of that, it will be a total lunar eclipse. So we have two eclipses happening in September. And these are portal moments. They are moments of transition and action, and they are then tied to the signs that they are being activated in. So we're really talking about, again, a lot of reconnection with Piscean energy and Virgo energy. They're going to be intertwining with one another because they are the signs that oppose each other in the chart. And so this idea of the seventh, when we have the full moon, is what things need to be completed that are part of our dreams. What have we envisioned, and maybe even how our visions turned out differently than what we thought they would be. If you go back and you look 2.5 years ago and you thought, well, this is my vision for my family, and this is my vision for my career, and this is my vision for my home life. And you look at where you are right now and you go, wow, that is very different than what I envisioned. And I'm getting ready to enter an Aries period, which is going to be about dealing with things the way they are. Aries is very much an energy of what are we having to deal with in this particular moment, and how do we do that? So the idea then is that the first is a shift of Saturn back into Pisces and a review. The seventh, which is the full moon with the lunar eclipse and the moon being in Pisces, is again this issue of dreams. And to some extent, it may be having to let go of maybe previous dreams that you see are not working, or a vision that you thought might be the case that isn't showing up, that you have to reroute to. Or you are reaching the vision that you did set out. That's certainly possible for some of us, that we are seeing the vision that we want, and we are seeing the last remnants of that falling into place and getting ready to take advantage of that. Whatever your story is, it will be unique to you, but it will be Piscean in terms of that full moon. And so the key date next after the 7th will be the 21st, which will be that new moon repeating in Virgo. And so again, just to re-emphasize, it's a special moon. It's called a black moon that will happen. And then, what we've got in terms of the transits is some energy that if we acknowledge that we can get clear about our next steps and we are willing to do what's necessary to get to those next steps, there's actually some energy that will back that up. Now, overall, we're still having to wait for the transition of these points to finish going back and forth between signs. So again, we had at the beginning of the year, we had Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, and they went into Aries. They've been in Aries, they're getting ready to go back into Pisces, and then next year they're going to go into Aries. We've had Uranus, which was in Taurus, go into Gemini. It's going to go back into Taurus, and then next year go into Gemini and continue its journey in Gemini without going back into Taurus. So, what I would recommend with the particular dates, and I know that September 1st is coming up tomorrow, and you may not see this video by then, and that's okay. Saturn in Pisces, and Saturn's movement is much slower. But the 7th and the 21st can be fantastic dates for ritual work. And it really is tied to what is it you're envisioning? What is it you're dreaming about? What is it that you understand about the collective consciousness and your connection to it? And what would you like to put out energetically during those particular times? The full moon being about something that you would like to see completed, and the new moon, again, coming back again a second time in Virgo, is what are the actions, practical actions, really practical actions that need to be taken that you can put into effect. And then if I align it with some of the things that I've been talking about around this idea of frugality, a new moon, second new moon in Virgo can definitely be a great time to implement consolidation of debt or possibly releasing things that are creating a financial burden that you would like to be freed up from. And so the main thing that's going to be happening is a lot of transits that are long lasting will be in effect. And I'll just go through these kind of quickly here just to talk about what they represent. So Neptune and Aries will be in what's called a sextile or complementary relationship with Pluto and Aquarius. And that really started all the way back in April on the 20th and goes until October the 22nd. Neptune also is in a sextile or complementary relationship with Uranus in Gemini. That started back on July the 7th and is still continuing until October 22nd. So both of these transits are in effect for the entire month of September. Uranus in Gemini is forming a trine with Pluto, also started back in July, but it's going to run until November. So these are some very slow moving transits that are still in effect. They're going to be fully in effect through the entire month of September. And they really are providing some undertow or current that is supportive, but it does require being very clear about what you want to communicate and what actions need to be taken because Aries and Aquarius and Gemini are involved. Now, the one challenging uh, aspect at the beginning of the month of September involves Mars and Libra in a square or a challenge with Jupiter and Cancer, and that's went into effect on August 25th and goes until September the 11th. And this is just a tension between trying to take assertive action and emotional expansion. And so this can lead to sometimes overconfidence or impulsive decisions. So the main thing is be very measured in decision making and try to be as practical as possible. And then, as I said, these are going to run throughout the entire month. And Mars is going to be providing the tension throughout the month by being in Libra. So it may feel like we really have to be very aggressive and clear and determined in our communication with everyone in our lives. So that'll be an important part of it. So I hope again, as always, that what's being provided is helpful. I do want to emphasize that the liminal state that we're dealing with is very challenging, is not releasing itself, probably not honestly until 2028. I know that's kind of hard to hear, but from an astrological standpoint, that these transits that are moving back and forth until they're done and settled into their next sign, this liminal state is going to persist. I do think we'll get some relief by the end of 2026 and 2027, which will give us a clue as to what's going on. But again, there's just so much volatility that's part of the design right now. So, whatever you can do to take care of yourself, whether it is grounding exercises or connecting with people that you care about, that when you're having difficulty, you reach out and you engage in that connection. Anything that can be done to help on a daily basis with feeling more stable or feeling more connected, those are going to be great things to do, and I highly recommend them. As always, I hope everyone is doing as well as they can, and that to remember that this is a time period that we all signed up to be part of, and to find our way through as best we can. And the tools that I have, I hope can help you. If you need my help, please reach out to me. And if you know someone that could use that help, please direct them to me. But make sure that you are doing as much self-care as possible during this challenging period of time. Take care.